Drug Regulation and Management, page 25. Box 2.14, Causes of Prescribing Errors, Systems Factors, Working Hours of Prescribers and Others, Patient Throughput, Professional Support and Supervision by Colleagues, Availability of Information, Medical Records, Design of Prescription Forms, Distractions, Availability of Decision Support, Checking Routines, example clinical pharmacy, Reporting and Reviewing of Incidents. Prescriber factors, knowledge, clinical pharmacology principles, drugs in common use, therapeutic problems commonly encountered, knowledge of workplace systems, skills, taking a good drug history, obtaining information to support prescribing, communicating with patients, numeracy and calculations, prescription writing, attitude, coping with risk factor, coping with risks and uncertainty, monitoring of prescribing, checking routines. Box 2.15, Clinical development of new drugs. Phase 1, Healthy volunteers 20 to 80. These involve initial single dose first into man studies followed by repeated dose studies. They aim to establish the basic pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic properties and short term safety. Duration 6 to 12 months. Phase 2, Patients 100 to 200. These investigate clinical effectiveness, proof of concept, safety, and dose response relationship, often with a surrogate clinical endpoint. In the target patient group, to determine the optimal dosing regimen for larger confirmatory studies. Duration 1 to 2 years. Phase 3, Patients 100 to 1000. These are large, expensive clinical trials that confirm safety and efficacy in the target patient population using relevant clinical endpoints. They may be placebo controlled studies or comparisons with other active compounds. Duration 1 to 2 years. Phase 4, Patients 100 to 1000. These are undertaken after the medicine has been marketed for its first indication to evaluate new indications, new doses or formulations, long term safety or cost effectiveness. Figure 2.5, Human Error Theory. Unintended errors may occur because the prescriber fails to complete the prescription correctly. A slip, example, writes in dose in milligram, not micrograms, mg, not micrograms, or forgets part of the action that is important for success. A lapse, example, forgets to co-prescribe folic acid with methotrexate. Prevention requires the system to provide appropriate checking routines. Intended errors occur when the prescriber acts incorrectly due to lack of knowledge. A mistake, example, prescribes atenolol for a patient with known severe asthma because of ignorance about the contraindication. Prevention must focus on training the prescriber. Planned action prescribing, unintended action, slip or lapse. Unintended action, correct plan known but not executed. Causes include workload, time, pressures, distractions. Slip, prescription not as intended, prescriber unaware. Lapse, prescription incomplete or forgotten, prescriber may remember. Planned action prescribing, correct action, intended outcome. Planned action prescribing, intended action, mistake or violation. Wrong plan selected, causes include poor training and lack of experience. Mistake, prescription as intended but written based on the wrong principles or lack of knowledge, prescriber unaware. Violation, deliberate deviations from standard practice, prescriber aware. Drug regulation and management. Given the powerful beneficial and potentially adverse effects of drugs, the production and use of medicines are strictly regulated. Example by Food and Drug Administration in the United States, Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency in the UK, and Central Drugs Standard Control Organization in India. Regulators are responsible for licensing medicines, monitoring their safety, pharmacovigilance, approving clinical trials, and inspecting and maintaining standards of drug development and manufacture. In addition, because of the high cost of drug and their adverse effects, healthcare services must prioritize their use in light of the evidence of their benefit and harm, a process referred to as medicines management. Drug development and marketing. Naturally occurring products have been used to treat illnesses for thousands of years, and some remain in common use today. Examples include morphine from the opium poppy, Papaver somniferum, digitalis from the foxglove, digitalis purpura, curare from the bark of a variety of species in South American trees, and quinine from the bark of the Chincona species. Although plants and animals remain a source of discovery, the majority of new drugs come from drug discovery programs that aim to identify small molecule compounds with specific interactions with a molecular target that will induce a predicted biological effect. The usual pathway for development of these small molecules includes identifying a plausible molecular target by investigating pathways in disease, screening a large library of compounds for those that interact with the molecular target in vitro, conducting extensive medicinal chemistry to optimize the properties of lead compounds, testing efficacy and toxicity of these compounds in vitro a- and in animals, and undertaking a clinical development programs. Box 2.15. This process typically takes longer than 10 years and may cost up to US 2 billion. Manufacturers have a defined period of exclusive marketing of the drug while it remains protected by an original patent, typically 10 to 15 years, during which time they must recoup the cost of developing the drug. Meanwhile, competitor companies will often produce similar Me Too drugs of the same class. Once the drug's patent has expired, generic manufacturers may step in to produce cheaper formulations of the drug. Paradoxically, if a generic drug is produced by only one manufacturer, the price may actually rise, sometimes substantially. Page 25.